Every single person who plays Rocket League wants to be able to play fast. Unfortunately for a lot of players at the lower ranks, they believe that the best way to play fast is to physically move around the field quickly, going supersonic as often as possible, when in reality, this could not be further from the truth. You see, the true secret to playing quickly in Rocket League is all about positioning yourself in the right place at the right time. So in today's video, we'll be discussing how to avoid playing with too much speed. The replay we're looking at here today is of a Diamond 1, our friend Snipe here, and now Snipe is going to have a pretty consistent tendency where he likes to move very quickly around the field in everywhere he's going. Lots of good ground mechanics in terms of recoveries and things like that, which is a great skill to have, but it's also important to make sure we're using those skills in moderation and not moving way too quickly, therefore getting to places on the field way before we need to be there. So let's go ahead and just run this forward and see what we can see of our friend Snipe here. But now our other opponent is back here, and this is a bit of an awkward recovery, and we do cut back in here. I don't think this is what we want to be doing, so we push the ball downfield. This is fine. We recognize, okay, opponent's going to have the touch. We're going to be getting bumped over in this direction here. There's really no reason for us to try to recover back going over this way, because we do have a teammate behind us who is going to be working to cover this area of the field. So us recovering and shooting back in this direction is just going to cause some confusion between ourselves and our teammate. So we want to make things as clear as possible, especially since our momentum after this bump is going to be sending us over this way. It's advantageous to just make sure that we recover in that same direction, utilize the momentum that we still have, and just kind of rotate around, see where the play is going to go, and then play off of that accordingly, rather than fighting back into a play that we are already out of. Because you have to realize that your teammate, who is sitting behind you, sees what is happening there, sees you getting bumped away from the play, and will immediately make the assumption that that is now his ball to go and challenge, and he will expect you to play the support role. Instead, if we fight back into it, now we've just created this double commit for absolutely no reason, throws off the entire cohesiveness of the team, and normally results in just a completely free shot for our opponents. This is another one where it feels like we're inching a little too close, and this is what we mean when we talk about playing a little too fast and not getting to the right place at the right time. So we're going to see that we're going to move up the field pretty far here, and we're even going to boost forward in this situation, and you can see that there's really not a whole lot of opportunity here. We don't know exactly where a pass could be going if a pass does come across, so the fact that we're already this far upfield means that anything that is even slightly past us in this area is going to be impossible for us to capitalize on, because we just have no space to be able to adjust to where that ball goes. Instead, in these situations, we want to find ourselves just a little bit further back so that we can make plays based off what we see, rather than having to hope that we've already positioned ourselves accordingly. If we were instead back here watching this, this gives us a bit more space to adjust to what's happening. And at this point, we're going to jump up here in a situation where it's very clear that the defense is going to have a touch. You have to realize, if we're sitting in front of the net, they are going to make this touch regardless. They are not going to allow this ball to just fall down in front of the net. So if we just sat back here and waited for what was going to happen, we can see that this ball is just going to fall right to us, and now we would have a good shooting opportunity, rather than having to have our teammate come in from a very awkward angle to try to pick up the same free goal. We could have had a much easier time with this, and as you'll see, teammate doesn't get the best shot, and now we've created an opportunity for our opponents where both ourselves and our teammate are in our opponent's net. And this is just a wide open counterattack for our opponents, which could have been avoided if we had played just a little bit more patiently. Good patience here to go back and get the boost. Not a fan of this though. So this is another example of just simply playing too fast. So you pick up the boost, that is fantastic. There is absolutely no reason that we need to full speed into this ball and just bang it away from us. In this situation, we now have given ourselves an opportunity for control here, whether it's a dribble play along the ground or control up the wall. We've given ourselves an opportunity to be able to attempt to make a play. One of the worst things you can do is get in this game where it's just a game of ping pong, and instead of anyone actually trying to take control of the ball and actually attempting to make plays with it, it instead turns into just, here, you have the ball. Okay, great, now here, you have the ball. Okay, great, now here's your ball back. Okay, great, here it is back to you. Until eventually someone's just not in position to receive the ball coming to them, and it finally ends up in the net. This is not an effective strategy to win games. Instead of just, ping-ponging the ball right back to your opponents and waiting for them to give the ball back to you, this is the situation where we need to take our time on this ball, do not full speed boost into it, instead to go nice and slow to make sure we get a controlled touch and can actually do something with it. It would be advantageous if we can get under this ball and take it up the wall, because then it would be very easy to get the ball around this player, and then we'd have a 2v1 against the last defender back. But instead, we're gonna just full speed, full send, slap it away, and not do anything with the space that we have. And that is one of the worst things you can do in Rocket League, is just slam the ball away from yourself constantly and not attempt to make a play. Additionally, let's talk about the boost usage here. So we've gone down to 73 to get that touch, which is just boom the ball away. Now we're at 61 to jump off the wall, and now we're gonna use pretty much everything else we have to go for this challenge here, and then to boost back out of this, and now we're at 0 rotating back down the field. Which is a fascinating development, considering that when we go for this challenge, we have 37 boost when we're landing. It is totally fine in this situation to just jump off the wall, wave dash, and look for pads as we go back. We don't need to burn this 36 boost to do anything, especially not to run along the backboard, while it's possible that this ball could be moving into our own half. This is the moment where we want to start shading back towards our own defensive half, rather than, again, just running full speed for absolutely no reason over in a direction that really doesn't matter. Because there's really not much to gain from going in front of our opponent's net here, and yet we're going to burn all of our boosts to get over here. And now, even worse, instead of recognizing, okay, we're on 0 boost, but hey, there's this great path of pads that we can just go right over as we rotate back, and we can keep an eye on what's happening in the play to see where we need to go, if we need to turn, or if we need to keep going back. Instead, we're just gonna flip over this way into no pads and still be on 0 boost all the way back to the midfield line. Just an unnecessary situation to find ourselves in, when instead of being sat here with 23, we could have like 60 at this point, if we were smarter about how we pathed our boost pickups. And now again, we're finding ourselves really close up to the play in a situation that it does not behoove us to be here. Because again, we have our teammate just stuck on the opponent's backboard. Any touch that we get here is more or less just going to give away possession in one way or another, put both ourselves and our teammate in the same position trying to recover off of the opponent's backboard, and mean that we again have given up a pretty free counterattack to our opponents. Instead of just flying up to this area of the field where we really can't make any kind of solid play, why don't we instead keep an eye on what our opponents are doing, see how they're going to approach the ball, and then just calmly move ourselves in the direction that the ball is going to go. Then we can utilize our solid positioning and our smooth movement and rotation to just then make a play on the ball from a much more favorable angle. So what we're going to see here is just, a 50-50. And again, we're stuck in the corner. Teammate's still recovering. If this player is at a higher level, he's jumping up. And this is, again, just a free counterattack that we've given up absolutely for free. And the only reason we're in this position is because we simply moved up too quickly, pushed ourselves into a spot on the field that we didn't need to be in, and gave the opponents an opportunity to get a very simple clear out, now with absolutely nobody between the ball and the goal in terms of our own defense. This is fine. Bit of a giveaway of possession here. This is again just trying to play a bit too fast. We have to recognize the situation we find ourselves in. We have plenty of boost in this situation. This player is going to get the mid boost. This guy's all the way back here, currently facing back to net. So there's no threat of anyone attempting to challenge us here. So instead, if we find these balls bouncing off the sidewall and we don't have a challenger, if we have the boost, we should really look for an opportunity for control, a light touch on the ball, and put pressure on this opponent to actually have to read what we're doing. The longer we keep this player guessing of what we're planning, the bigger the advantage we get. The more time we give them to react to a play we make, the easier it is for them to make a save. So in a situation like this where we just clearly state our intentions of just banging the ball forward, they have plenty of time to react to that, position accordingly, and make the save. As you move up into the ranks, this is not going to be a threatening shot at all, and your opponent is very easily just going to catch this, take it over to the right corner, and pick up that boost and carry on with their own offensive attack. So you want to look for those opportunities to slow the ball down and actually put pressure on your opponent to make them have to read the attack that you're bringing forward. Fine recovery here. Bit of an awkward jump off the wall. This is questionable. So this is just all about paying attention to what's happening in the play. So we're burning 20 boost to do absolutely nothing here. So we have 100 on the backboard. We're nice and patient with it, no worries. We land on the ground, and then for whatever reason, we feel the need to use 30 boost. We see a 50-50 happen with our teammate. So like our teammate's no longer in control of the ball. The ball's actually floating back towards our half. And instead of, just like having been driving along here, playing patiently, waiting to see how this transpired before deciding if we needed to move up the field or stay back to play off this challenge, we've not only used the 30 boost to move forward, but we're also going to initiate a flip here that is going to take us even further out of position to play off of what's just happened. And that again is all about awareness, just recognizing you don't need to move quickly around the field. You can just drive nice and smoothly forward, especially when you're waiting to see the result of any given play. The second that we are boosting and flipping, we better be darn sure that wherever we're going is the place that we should need to be on the field. If we find ourselves boosting and flipping and then we need to backtrack on those movements, we've now just wasted a bunch of resources to do absolutely nothing, and all we managed to do is give the opponents an advantage in the play. So we're going to end up all the way in line with the ball for absolutely no reason. And not only that, but now we're going to be in this awkward situation where it's like, okay, do we need to come in for this? No, not really. Our teammate has turned on that, but instead of paying attention, we're again utilizing a bunch of boosts to get over here. Okay, but now again, if we look at this, our teammate does appear to still be in a position that they can play this ball. And because we don't really know what's going to happen, again, we don't want to just throw ourselves into a situation where we end up in a double commit. If we look at our opponent here, he is heading to the back corner. There is absolutely no threat on this ball immediately. There is no reason that we need to rush into this and just throw it in some random direction. If it looks like our teammate wants some control here, we should absolutely give him the opportunity to take it, because it is far better than just booming the ball forward. Because as you can see, he is going to have an opportunity to go for this ball, and possibly even an opportunity to put a shot on target. An absolute worst case scenario, let's say, that we let our opponent, or our teammate rather, go for this. He puts a shot on target. This guy collects the boost, makes the save, sends the ball over in this direction. If we had just remained patient in this midfield, we could just track where all this goes. When this clear comes out, we could already be moving in that direction to go ahead and cut it off. But instead, if we send both ourselves and our teammate, then if a clear does come out, we again have put ourselves both in the same spot without a whole lot of gain, and it's again just pushing ourselves and throwing ourselves into positions on the field too quickly and giving our opponents advantage in the play without any gain for ourselves. Because we'll see here, we just boom the ball off the backboard. That's put both ourselves and our teammate right at the opponent's net. And finally, despite the fact that this is like the third or fourth time that we've done this pretty much exact same thing, we are finally going to see a situation where the opponents are indeed going to capitalize on it. That's a 1 out of 4 conversion rate for the diamond opponents here. But if you get up to champ and GC, it becomes a lot more consistent that if you throw yourselves out of the play like that and just give up space to your opponents, they are going to punish you. So this is going to be all about recognizing where both opponents are going on this kickoff. So if we look, we need to identify, okay, he is going for kickoff, he is going to the back corner. Which means that if this ball ends up in our corner, we really only have one player to worry about. There's absolutely no reason why we need to be rushing to get this boost and get to the backboard, because we have to know that there is not an immediate shot coming as this ball bounces off the backboard. If we instead of rushing over to the corner had just, boosted and driven, we could have waited for this ball to bounce off. Then we could have, you know, caught it, picked up the boost, and made a play with the ball. One of the most important lessons is that you should keep your wheels on the ground as often as possible, because it means that you have full control of your car in whatever situation you find yourself in. The second that you decide that you're going to leave the ground, you are committed to doing whatever you're doing, flying as far as your car is going to go based on the inputs you make. In this situation, we end up messing up our flip, means we end up just kind of flopping in this direction, completely out of control. If we had just kept our wheels on the ground, this would not have been a dangerous situation at all, and we could have just played it very calmly. But because we left the ground, now everything is out of our control, and because we land so close to the ball, there's absolutely no time to react, and then panic sets in, and we just simply can't make the save. And then here is another prime example of just moving way too quickly around the field without any kind of plan as to where we need to be, and we get very lucky that this doesn't actually end up in a goal, but this all starts right around here. So this is fine, we get the clear out, we get the landing, we burn a bunch of boosts for really no reason, and this is kind of an important thing, a very small detail that a lot of people don't focus on, but I want us to pay attention to where the car is pointed when we jump off this wall, because right now it's pointed up slightly. So that means that any jump, especially because of the fact that we're boosting, is carrying us upwards, which means that it is taking far more effort and far more boost to push ourselves back down to the ground to be able to recover out of this. So in this situation, we need to make sure that when we're going to jump off this wall, we do turn back to the ground first, and then go ahead and jump and wave dash, as that will allow us to save a bit of resources, but we kind of jump as we're turning, and it means that we have to use that boost to push ourselves down. We do recover, but now again, we're just gonna full send forward for absolutely no reason. Like, we have a 3-goal lead with less than a minute to go. The only way this can go south is if we let our opponents back into this game. And one of the easiest ways to let your opponents back into a game is to overcommit on offense when you really don't need to. We could just let our opponent come forward, take the 1v1, and we can play support off of this, rather than throwing both our teammate and ourselves up the field, and therefore opening up the possibility for a counterattack should the play not work out. Which is exactly what we're going to see, because again, we're going to fly forward here. The ball is not going to end up in the net. We're going to burn all of our boosts down to 0. And then we're going to land here, and we're still not in the worst position, because we actually have landed in front of where the ball is. We do have an opportunity to get back if we go right back to net here, but instead of just committing to net and like grabbing whatever pads we can on the way back, we're going to go ahead and try to go get a corner that's not even present right now. We're kind of preemptively deciding where we're going to go without really considering what's happening in the play, and it's going to result in what should be a very open net, but luckily our opponents do miss it. This is fine, recognize there's no threat, totally cool, chillin'. What do we do here? Again, see, here's the question, like, what exactly is this touch trying to accomplish? Whenever we make touches, we should be able to explain what we're trying to accomplish with any given touch. In this situation, we have space. All we need to do here, right, is get on top of this ball, roll it along the ground, roll it up the wall, take possession. Anything like that will work. The last thing we want to do, just bang it off the sidewall. But even worse, we get on the inside of the ball and bang it back towards our own half. Which is even worse, because if this guy, if he instead of committing for this corner boost, had remained patient here in the midfield, and maybe like grabbed this boost pad and this boost pad, when you bang this off the sidewall, he can then come forward for a free shot on net, which again is absolutely an unnecessary threat to give up, when we could have just had clean control here. But because we end up on the lower part of the ball, it's going to pop it up into a very dangerous area, popping off the sidewall, in a situation where, again, we are the last player back. So if we're just banging it off the sidewall, now there's no one back, and now it could be a free open net. The biggest things that we need to understand here is that we need to move around the field at a slower pace. We are burning way too much boost. We are getting way too close to the play. And the touches that we are then getting on the ball are also quite wild and unplanned. We want to make sure that we, as much as possible, are playing under control, both under control of our car and under control of the ball whenever we get an opportunity. The more we can keep possession of the ball, the more we put pressure on the opponents. So make sure as you're watching your own replays, we start to really think about what the purpose is of the touches we're making. If you make a touch in a game and you can't explain what the purpose was, probably should have made a different touch on the ball. We also need to keep a good understanding of just how close we're getting to the play. The closer we are to the play, the less time we give ourselves to react to whatever happens. So we want to make sure that we're playing with nice solid spacing so that when the ball does fall in an area that we can attack, we can give ourselves a nice bit of momentum to attack that ball, and we also give ourselves enough time to react if we need to slightly adjust our course to get the best touch possible. And then lastly, this will also help us conserve a bit more boost. We tend to have a habit of just moving around the field really quickly, burning a lot of boost, and that is not only causing us to get to places on the field well before we would even need to consider being there, but it's also causing us to arrive to these positions with not a whole lot of boost left, which means when the ball inevitably ends up going over our heads because we are too close, we are then retreating on defense without a whole lot of resources to work with. So make sure we're really considering when we're using boost, and additionally when we're using our flips to move around the field. In any situation, if you're going to use a boost or you're going to use a flip, much like asking yourself what the purpose was of a touch on the ball, you should be able to ask yourself what the purpose was of the boost usage or the flip. If you cannot give a reason for why you're boosting or why you're flipping, then going forward you should understand that you should not utilize boost or flips in a similar situation. Generally, if you're going to use those resources, it should be to get to a spot on the field that you absolutely need to get to as quickly as possible. If you don't need to get to a spot as quickly as humanly possible, then it is okay to simply drive normally and make sure that you arrive at that spot when you need to be there. Of course, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you that made it to this point in the video, and I do hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below, so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you'd like to be a bit more involved in the community we're building here, and even have a replay analysis like this done of one of your own replays, make sure you also consider joining my Discord, which I'll have linked down in the description, as I do offer free coaching sessions through there. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.